Aura as your backstage pass to smooth operations. This modern management solution reduces admin time, streamlines bookings, and drives profits. Receive a special offer at aurasalonwear.com, referral code PBA. Welcome to Beyond Beauty, the Professional Beauty Association's podcast, where we take a deeper look into the minds and hearts of the amazing professionals who make up this professional beauty industry. I am your host, Leslie Perry. With me today, I have Jason Eichholz, Vice President with Buy Right. And I didn't check before we started recording. That is the correct pronunciation of your
That
last
is, yeah. Jason Eichholz. That's my name. Yeah, you did good.
My maiden name is Reinbold, so I'm familiar with the German-esque
Yeah,
Eastern
that's exactly right. People get tripped up by the two H's usually. So, but
Yes.
you nailed it. You nailed it.
Yes, awesome. Well, it is such a pleasure to have you here today, and
Nice to be here.
and I can't wait to learn more about you. So tell us about Buy Right a little bit, because there might be, I know, people in our audience who are like, "What's Buy Right? Tell me about what exactly do you do?"
Yeah, no, let's do. So, Buy Right is a company that my grandfather started. So we're a third generation business. He started back, just a quick little history of the company. He started in the 30s in the industry, going door to door selling like hair care products and lotions and things like that. He thought it was a great industry to join. So he, boots on the ground, went to the community and started selling like goods like that and helping the community. That then morphed into a storefront here in Savannah, Georgia, where that really, it was a showcasing of all the wet goods, that we offered, to the community. And then slowly from there, we started introducing some equipment and furniture, but our business really grew I'd say in the first and second generation, from the wet good distribution side of things. And then really in like the late 80s and early 90s, we really started just focusing and becoming much more focused and niche on the equipment and furniture side of things. So what that means is A to Z, salon, barber, and spa, furniture and equipment, shampoo bowls, chairs, mirrors, cabinets, reception desks, anything that you would find. Not the small stuff like combs and scissors. No, we don't supply that at the moment, but we focus on the big stuff. And we're a family-run business, and my father's only job has been in this company for 65 years, and my brother and I now are deeply involved and have been here for 15 plus years as well.
What's it like with a family? I feel like beauty lends itself to so many family businesses. My family too. My mom was a salon owner and a hairdresser for 35 years. And so I got my first start working in beauty there, and my sister owns a salon, and it's like it's very familial industry. I feel.
It is, like most of the, salon owners, like you said, like businesses that we speak to and help, you'd be surprised about how many are like a mom and a daughter, or, a husband and wife, or it's all like small business. Like most small businesses are family businesses. The business is their life. The family is I'm sure, like, it's like, there's not very clear divide, right?
No.
So, it's good. It's a lot of good, and it can be tough at times, but, it's extremely passionate when you blend those two things, right? Which is only my eyes, like a good thing, because you just care so much. So we share those same things too as our company, right? Like, I'm extremely passionate about it. Obviously, as a third generation, our goal is to just not mess it up at this point, because that's the curve.
You're like, it's been going for 3 generations, and if we can't get work.
Yeah. So we're just, extremely passionate about it. I mean, we were able to relate to, I think, to a lot of these business owners that we help, and, try to bridge that gap of like, hey, there's usually their stylists and their hairs and their barbers at heart, and they're not really business owners, right? That transition is really hard. Not to go off on a tangent here, but just that's what comes to mind, initially, is that what we try to do is fill that gap, right? Like, we've been here for a gazillion years doing the same thing. And these, people come to us, salon owners come to us needing furniture and equipment, right? They're just, hey, I want to open a shop in, next couple months. And what we really do, I think, in a really good way, is we provide that guidance that says, hey, like, here's essentially everything you need to make sure you've got in line before you just buy a chair and buy a mirror. So we try to fill that gap. But it's hard as a small business owner in the world today too. It's a leap of faith, and it's your family, right? Like you're getting at, like, it's not just another business venture for these people. This is everything. They've been saving for a long time. They put this into it, and we try to be that partner with them in that, because we understand it. So not a long-winded answer, but yeah, it's an extremely passionate space.
And I love that you said that you aren't just looking at selling the furniture, right? Like you're really truly, you go beyond that to give them the coaching that they might need on business.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not just like business. It's like, hey, like, here's what a P&L is, and here's what, right. It's more about like helping them think through like the idea. Everyone can have ideas. Everyone can have big ideas. And what like kind of separates the successful people and business owners from the maybe not so successful is executing that, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just like, like if you ever build a house or something, or you remodel a house, like it's not the field that you're in, right? You don't know how to like necessarily like furnish a salon, and you don't know, you've been a stylist for a long time, and you know how to, cut hair, and you know how to operate a chair, but knowing the intricacies of compliance and codes, and how many shampoos, how many feet between each station, and how many shampoo bowls do you think I need for 2 or, for 12 barber or 12 salons or 12 stylists, excuse me. Like those questions and those things are like extremely important. And just, most of these people who are starting these salons don't have that knowledge. And it's a big giant thing in the industry to be able to like understand, the right checklist and the right things to do as you open a business like this. And we try to educate as much as possible. And the reason I just harp on this so much is because we want to establish ourselves and like be there as far more than like a furniture company, right? Like, you don't think of like, I don't know, like Rooms to Go is like giving you advice on how to remodel your house.
Right.
But we want to be, the people that are like, hey, yeah, we do, provide all this furniture and equipment, but we have so much knowledge and industry experience that, we want to help. We want them to feel that, oh, wow, I can call them and ask them any question about this process. So we feel that that's really important.
And for you, it kind of goes back to a little bit of your roots, because before you joined the family business, you were a CPA and went off to New York City and did like a whole other thing before you joined the family business.
I did. I was in my previous life a tax accountant for Ernst & Young up in New York for 4 or 5 years. Thankfully, still hold my CPA license, which is nice to keep around. But yeah, I mean, personally for me, my brother comes from a similar background in finance. He worked for, UBS for a while, but, I think that was really healthy for us. Where my dad, his only job he's ever had is
went right into it,
which is why he's an amazing resource and an invaluable, leader for us. But, some of those things that my brother and I learned in our previous lives, which I'll say is, has taught us a lot of good discipline and a lot of like business sense, and, helped carry over to our business, work ethic, things like that.
And working with the family, how do you balance that too? Because I know, again, with my mom, and then my dad was a farmer and farmed with his dad on the family farm. And like, when you said it's a very passionate industry, I remember my dad and my grandfather having very passionate conversations about things that they may or may not have agreed upon about what they were doing with the farm that year.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. I mean, in the sense that it means everything to us. There's not much, at the Sunday night dinner table. It's maybe not unfortunately, but it's most of the conversation, right? I mean, we just care about it so much. I mean, we really do. And it's like, being business owners, a family business is our customers can relate. Like it's everything to us, and we're all passionate about it because it is our family, and it there's not much, divide, there's not much separate lines there. But yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, we have our, disagreements, but what makes it so easy is that we've had disagreements for 40 years and we know exactly how to,
Right.
yeah, whereas like, with, other coworkers with my previous job, like it's hard to get through disagreements and it's hard to get through things like that when you're not, as close as family. So we see it as a absolute, we're super lucky to have this. Yeah, I don't know. It can be difficult, but it's at the end of the day, like it's super, super, super passionate, and we love that.
So what, like from your perspective and where you've been doing beauty for a long time, the family business has been in it forever. What do you think is maybe still missing today that you hope that maybe you can bring, or like working together through like with PBA or other partners in the industry, that there's this hole that we still need to fill?
That's a great question. Like, just in general in the industry or specific to what we do?
Yes, and.
That's a great question. I think there's like, I'll get back to something that I said before. And I think this idea of knowledge and understanding where I'll get back to, Sally Jane, who's like been a stylist for 5, 6, 7 years and wants to, has entrepreneurial, kind of inside, tendencies inside of her. And she's like, I'm gonna start my own salon. That's a huge thing, right? And there's a big knowledge gap of, she's an excellent stylist and she's got great entrepreneurial spirit and she's all about what America is, right? But, filling the gap between that decision and running her own successful salon, as we all know, like these things, unfortunately can sometimes, be unsuccessful, but I think the industry could really, which PBA I think does a great job too of knowledge, like more knowledge out there of like, not just how do I cut hair, but all of the other things, like what do I need to know? Like what do I need to know when I buy my styling chairs? What do I need to do to my styling chairs to make sure they don't, to make sure I'm maintaining them? Because at the end of the day, these are hydraulic, like pumps, and like your car or something else with a hydraulic system in it, you got to take your car in once a quarter and so things like that get maybe unnoticed. So, that I think could really benefit the salon owners on the long term. I think that's one thing that the industry could use. I think a lot of times the stylists or the owners will get real fixated on the result, like the hair cutting and things like that, and forget kind of some of the things about like, business 101 and et cetera, et cetera. So I think knowledge is really important there. But yeah, I think the industry is super strong. It's only getting stronger from what we see. It's branching out into so many, different areas with new services and spas in general, just becoming so much, more prevalent. And like, what is a spa? Like, is it a foot spa? Is it a head spa? Is it a hand spa? Like, it's only growing. So, I think the other thing the industry could use is more creativity and more entrepreneurials in it, like they're spinning off into these things. Like, I think the idea of these, my wife and I go to this foot massage spa and local in town, and that idea is brilliant, and it's like, we love it. And I think there's so many other, like, probably avenues and categories and creative ways, like head spa that's becoming a craze now. So it's more creativity too, but it's such a strong industry. And like, my father and grandfather love the saying that, good times and bad times, bad economies and good economies, or wartime, not wartime. Like, women and men are still gonna get their hair done, and they're still gonna go to the barbershop and the salon, and it's so true. So yeah, we love the industry we're in.
What trends are you seeing? Even with equipment, like what has changed? Because I didn't even think about the idea of like the head spas or foot spas or things that like aesthetics are doing differently. The equipment needed to do that.
Yeah, I think there's categories like that are emerging, which we love. I think are great. They're super creative and unique, and just another way to satisfy the market. I think just building businesses around the idea of just relaxation, I think is becoming much more popular, right? Whereas I think maybe 10, 20, years ago, it was very business-like as far as, okay, I just need to go get my hair done, or I need to get my hair colored. I'm going to go in and, take me this and I'll leave and I'll pay whatever. Now it's more like, okay, how can we create an experience that's people want to come back like more and more and more because it's relaxing and it's great and it's a break from life and this and that. So I think that trend is just getting stronger. And I personally love going to the barbershop because it's I get there and they're like hot towel on my back, the back of my neck, and do you want something to drink? You want a beer? I was like, sure, like it sounds great. And my wife was like, why do you go to the barbershop twice a month now? Well,
my hair needs to be up. I need to upkeep this.
It's just enjoyable and it's relaxing and it's just a break from the world. And I think the industry's leaning into that in a really good way, and making that even more and more and spinning off into all of these like subcategories in the industry. So that's the trend I think we're seeing a lot, as far as just like macro level.
And what's next for Buy Right? I mean, that you can talk about. I'm sure there's things you cannot talk about, but
yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, we have a few things that we're focusing on for this year. I mean, from a high level, we want to continue to grow our offering. We think we're able to provide something that a lot of other companies in our space can't, and it's that like experience and that knowledge and that longevity that these people really need, and connecting the dots on that, right? Because and trying to educate and not just sell a chair, right? Like we have awesome and beautiful and affordable like equipment that we've been doing for a really long time, but there's probably a lot of websites and things out there that probably are promising the same, right? But what we provide is something different in the sense that you could hop on the phone with us with combined. We have a team of combined like 175 years of experience. Wow. And just can walk you through something that's super duper stressful when you're going through it, and you're anxious and you don't know what the heck you're doing, and like you need someone that really can help you through it. So we really feel like expanding on that is something the industry needs and that we can provide. So trying to connect the two things there.
Awesome. So what advice do you for yourself, Jason today, have for Jason, let's say 20 years ago?
Oh, wow. Great question. I think be patient. I think, good advice I've given, I've been given a couple things is, don't get too high, don't get too low, right? There's a lot of highs that'll happen, a lot of awesome things, and there's a lot of tough things that'll happen. And I think the people and the business owners and these new upcoming stylists and business owners, the folks that can kind of keep their kind of life and emotions and thoughts and everything kind of a little less turbulent and can avoid this, I think will really will make it a long way. So that's one piece of advice I've been given that I really loved. And I also think about balance too is something that one of my accounting professors in college told me, was that don't overfill one of your main buckets. Your main buckets being work, your family, second bucket, third bucket's friends, and fourth bucket's like faith, right? And you don't want to have one bucket too full and one bucket too empty. And so you balance these out. And I think that was excellent advice, to always be looking and asking yourself and looking at life like, hey, I don't want to overflow one bucket and neglect another bucket, because more balanced and person in those buckets will have probably a more fulfilling life was his point there. So those are probably two things that I've captured and like to remember.
The being patient is so hard. I struggle with that. So.
Well, I've really learned that one because I've got 3 girls under the age of 6 right now.
God bless you.
So
although I think it's easier now than when they become 3 girls at the age of teenagers, but we'll talk then too.
So patience is hard, but just that's something I have a little sticky note on my desk right over here that says be patient, because even as a father, obviously that's really important, but in a business like this, you want things to happen so quick, and you want to, I've got this idea, and I want to, we got to do this and this and that. But, you've got to slow down a lot of times and step back and think about it and not react to just an idea and like let it digest and things like that. So that I carry that one very closely.
Awesome. Well, before we wrap up, I always like to ask a little fun question about I like to get the insight from just your perspective of, you have a decade, past decade, future current decade. You don't have to have been alive during the decade. That's your favorite, like for the style, the look, the feel, the music, the whatever that you're like, that decade gets me. Like that's it.
What was my favorite decade?
Yeah.
Is that what the question?
Or not one that you lived through either. Maybe it was one before you ever came to be.
Yeah, I'll probably pick one that I wasn't living through. Probably the 60s or 70s. I thought that the whole disco movement was super cool and creative and unique. I'm also a big Grateful Dead fan. I think that was probably their heyday back then. So I think that was a super creative and expressive time for the world. So I'd probably pick one of those two.
Awesome. Love it. Okay. Well, final question. What other words of wisdom do you have for others out there who might be starting a journey, starting a career, maybe thinking about going into business?
Yeah. Another great question. I mean, be patient, do your research and understand, what you're getting into, and just have a plan. I mean, there's so many talented people. There's so many talented people. And we see so many successful salons and so many people coming back and saying, hey, this opening my second one. Hey, opening my third one. Like, wow.
Awesome.
And I think what drives the success of those people are, being organized, having a plan, doing their research, becoming educated, and just being patient. Yeah, I think that's it. Just be patient with it. Like, you're not going to become, from stylist to your third salon is not going to happen overnight, right? And that might not be your goal of having multiple salons, but just feeling like you're running successful, business, like it takes time, and just it's going to be hard, right? Knowing that it's hard and not easy is also something like really valuable advice. And understanding that it's supposed to be hard. If it was easy, everyone would do what you're thinking about doing. So if you understand, hey, it's going to be hard, I need to be patient. I need to take the punches as they come, not get too high, not get too low. I think that's really good advice to kind of keep at the back of your mind as you're going through the process.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This is so great and great advice. I mean, I just love it. I always take personally away from it. Mine is today, be patient.
So important.
I've got to have that mantra. It is so important.
It is.
So thank you for that reminder. And again, thank you so much. It was so great to talk with you today.
Nice to talk to you too. I enjoyed it.
Hope to see you soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Leslie.
All right. Bye.
See ya.
Step up your salon game with Aura Salonware, the preferred software for smarter scheduling, seamless payments, and happy clients. That way, you can focus on the style, not the stress. Receive a special offer at aurasalonware.com, referral code PBA.